You're watching the Saurabh Sagar Show. Let's hear what's in news today.
Recently, the European AI Act came into force. This is the first ever legal framework for AI that addresses the risks associated with AI. Amazon calls for a global alignment of responsible AI policies.
US's Senate bills aims to combat AI deepfakes, protect content creators. Genesis Energy teams up with Informatica for AI-driven data governance. Alation and Salesforce partner for data governance for Data Cloud.
Reddit blocks AI crawlers, protects data from free access. Government of India to float a new data governance policy framework.
That's all for news today. Join us for the data governance conversation on the street.
What is data governance? Why is it important? And how do you do it?
If you talk about a simple definition of data governance, I think it's a practice of managing data assets with policies, process, and standards, all to ensure data is accurate, consistent, and secure across your organization. And remember one thing, data governance is not just about compliance, it's about turning data into a strategic asset.
So I always think of governance as knowing your data, trusting your data, and then using your data, right? So before you even can, trust the data, you should know where your data assets are. That is mainly the business glossary. Then knowing your data is your data quality. You've got data lineage on knowing your data. And then using your data it can be data sharing, it can be accessing the data, giving permissions, security privileges, and so on. So that's my view of governance. So governance has those three pillars: know, trust, and then consume.
There are some interesting facts about governance that might surprise you, Sagar.
What are those facts?
Yeah,
Tell
so I
me.
think data value realization, I think according to a recent study by Gartner, organizations with strong data governance practice are 3 times more likely to realize the value of their data compared to those who are not doing. So it's not just a cost center, it's a value driver for your organization.
Absolutely. And see, I've been in this IT industry for almost 23 years. And when I started my journey, there was a lot of emphasis on governance. And I believe that emphasis has somehow got lost with all the new technology and capabilities, particularly with Gen AI. So we need to somehow take our customers and users back to the basics of, hey, okay, you've got this shiny tool, but don't forget the best practices. Make sure you have the governance in place. Make sure you have business glossary, your data quality and lineage, so that you can have a proper data asset, which can be then used to fuel your analysis.
So let's talk about some common myths about data governance. So myth number 1, data governance is only about compliance. So many believe data governance is just about meeting regulatory requirements. While compliance is essential, I think data governance is much beyond that. It's about data quality, it supports decision making, ensuring that data is effectively used across the organization. There is another myth number 2. It's an IT only responsibility. I think this is a big misconception. Effective data governance involves stakeholders across the organization and not just IT. It could include departments like legal, marketing, finance, and more. So it requires collaboration across departments to ensure data is understood and utilized effectively. And I think there's a third myth, data governance slowing down innovation. I think in reality, a well-implemented data governance framework accelerates innovation. So by having accurate, reliable, and accessible data, teams can innovate faster and make informed decisions without constantly questioning data quality. Last myth, which is data governance is too expensive. Often I see when organizations are implementing a data platform, the first one to get cut down in terms of investment is data governance. Let's do it later, right? I think while implementing data governance can have upfront cost, I think it ultimately saves money by reducing risk, improving data quality, and enable better decision making. So in the long run, it is a good cost-effective strategy. If you look at the recent trends shaping the data governance landscape. I think the first one is the integration of AI in data governance. So AI and machine learning are increasingly being used to automate data governance processes, from identifying data patterns to suggesting data quality improvements. I think another great trend is the rise of data mesh architecture. I think data mesh is a relatively new concept, but especially in large enterprises, it's about decentralizing domain-oriented approach to data governance. And the last one is focus on ethical usage of data. So AI and data analytics becomes more pervasive. There's a growing emphasis on ethical data governance.
Governance is a team sport. It cannot be just technical, or it cannot be just business. It needs to be both business and technical. However, implementing governance requires a lot of business efforts than technical efforts.
Time to bring someone who has a good background in data governance.
We have our guest today, Ian Godsell. Ian Godsell has 26 years of experience in this industry, out of which I think 19 years are in IBM. That's huge. 19 years in one company. But he has worked on in various roles. He has worked as a consultant. He has worked as an architect. He's worked as a practice lead, pre-sales. Now he's a pre-sales manager at IBM, technical lead. So name any role, he has done that. So thank you, Ian, for coming to our show and being our guest speaker.
It's good to be here. Nice to see you, bud.
So I'll start with your current role. Tell us about your current role. What do you do at IBM?
Yeah, look, at the moment, I'm one of the pre-sales technical leads at IBM. So I manage a team of around about 36 people, myself and a couple of colleagues, because it is quite a large team. It's part of the IBM Technology Group, which covers really both hardware and software. But more specifically, I actually work in the data, AI, and automation team. So even that is quite a broad range of capabilities. So we think about, from information architecture to artificial intelligence, which includes things like in those areas of data stores, data fabric, governance, but also business automation, plus more broadly automations, IT automation and FinOps, as well as integration and other application server type of environments. So a very broad set of software, but really this is the technical pre-sales side that I focus on.
And in that 19 years at IBM, I should say that one of the highlights of your career was to interview me and get me inside IBM. And you are still been blamed for that decision. Is that correct?
Yes. And certainly today, I mentioned to one of the colleagues that people that you know well, Sagar, and he said to say hello. And certainly well remembered in IBM.
What's your perspective on data governance? Like, the whole data ecosystem, a lot of emphasis on the data engineering, data like ingestion and, data analytics. And now we are talking about GenAI, but a lot of people forget to talk about data governance in general.
Look, as a colleague of mine once framed, it's, if AI is the brain, the backbone is absolutely the data, and governing that data is absolutely critical. So, and being able to trust that data is a fundamental aspect of that. And Saurabh, but some of the concepts you spoke about there fit into, I guess, go beyond, what I just purely data governance side, and fit into what we would, I guess, the industry now thinks about now as being a data fabric. So not just the governing, but also the movement of the data physically or virtually as well. But specifically on the data governance side, and that's where really, as a lot of organizations are on their digital transformation journeys, they're trying to leverage, and a key part of that is leveraging the data. And if you can't trust your data, well, how can you trust any insights or decisions you may be making from that data? So governance includes things as lineage of that data. Okay, where's it coming from? Where's it going to? So from an impact analysis perspective, but also what transformations may be taking place as well. So to make sure that you and I, when we talk about, a certain attribute, we talk about the same thing, which is where the link is not just for lineage, but the terminology as well. Taking business terminology, linking that back to technical assets. That's another key part of data governance. Data quality, another really intrinsic part of being able to trust data. Now, it doesn't mean data quality has to be perfect, but we need to have an understanding of what that data quality is. That's a key part of data governance. And I suggest that certainly with the the rise of many of the concerns we have around sensitive data, lots of regulations in place these days, so GDPR, the Privacy Acts are here in Australia where we are, then certainly being able to protect that data is key. And we think about trying to provide the right data to the right people at the right time. The right data also includes making sure we only expose the data they're entitled to see. And so another critical part of that data governance is to be able to identify where that sensitive data may exist in your organization. And secondly, then, is making sure we only expose it to those people who are allowed to have access to it. And there's a whole range of concerns there. And just to draw that distinction between security of data from a data governance perspective versus security data from a security, like a CISO's perspective of that data security, there's a lot of commonality, but ultimately they're two different perspectives that trying to achieve slightly different goals on that data.
The Gen AI space, I think, is a hot topic right now. And I think it's an area which is like the industry is moving towards. But how do you see the role of data governance in Gen AI? Like how does it fit there?
Well, look, it's an interesting one because I think to me the governance of AI and the governance of data are two different things. So we think that you're trying to measure different things and govern different things. So data governance, I mean, all those attributes I just spoke about is what you're concerned about. So governing AI is not just another asset type in a data governance catalog. I can't just tick it off. Look, there's my AI model or generative AI model there. There's a lot more things we're concerned about. So, I mean, first and foremost, I think you have to think about what we're seeing is some of the interesting scenarios that are being made available to us on the internet these days of where, let's just look at Gen AI, that is the hot topic, where things have gone wrong, where it's an airline who's offering discounts for tickets that it's not supposed to be. And then, the airline saying, oh, it wasn't us, it was the conversational agent. I'm sorry, you're responsible for that. And so when we think about governing governing AI, risk is an absolutely key part of that. And that's quite different from data governance. So yes, we're concerned about the quality of the data, but exposing ourselves to risk beyond just the PII data, which is also a part of it, is a key attribute.
Big data is for everyone, but it was not. We learned that. Is the same thing going to happen for AI? Where everyone is now jumping on the AI, and then we will realize that AI is not for every use case.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we've seen massive early adoption. I think that pretty much every board, certainly in this country, it would seem, has to have AI on the agenda somewhere. But really, if we think about the Gartner Hype life cycle is always an interesting one to look at. Use of generative AI specifically now is just coming off that, starting to head down towards the trough of disillusionment. So the hype cycle, we've now hit the top of the hype. And so what happens once we hit the trough of disillusionment, we start to see the real value start to be where can we really apply it, which ultimately comes down to, Sagar, the use cases to which we can apply it to. And I think that there certainly is some really valuable areas where generative AI can be applied. And so we see it certainly in customer service is a key one, supplementing or being made use of things like conversational agents, whether it's for use internally or externally, but it has to be governed though. Another key area though as well is the use of code assistance as well. And so actually not just writing the code for you, but assisting those developers. So pre-existing developers who have skills in Java, for example, or JavaScript, not just actually writing everything for you, but actually assisting you. So accelerating those people who are already skilled to make them far more productive. These are a couple of examples, and certainly, we are seeing those use cases sort of. I think it's going to have a fantastic future, but it's really actually applying to use cases. And once we're through the hype cycle, and start to see the business value that I expect we're going to actually achieve.
Yeah, and don't forget the fuel for AI is data. And the quality of AI models and the predictions and content you generate depend on the quality of data you have. And I see a trend that a lot of people focus on Gen AI and AI. But if you see behind the scene, their data and the data platforms are still very old school. They haven't transformed their data platform itself. The entire data pipeline. So like from their ingestion methods to the way they store data, govern data, and then secure data, and do data freshness, how's the quality of data, and it's a culture of data. Like you want to operationalize and push your data pipelines to production in a more modernized way. So it's like there's a need to transform and modernize the way you store and process data, like in your entire data ecosystem.
I can't help but think about some of the challenges they're almost the perennial challenge. If we rewound 20 years ago, we're concerned about, data sitting in different locations and trying to bring it together. And hey presto, 25 years later, we're still concerned about what? Trying to actually get that holistic view of data. So we're concerned about data silos. Data warehouse was supposed to solve that. Sagar, you spoke about the data lakes. They were supposed to solve that. Moving to data lake houses today, there's another architectural pattern that we can look to solve that challenge. But there's always going to be. I think we touched on this before. And that's part of that modern data architecture as well. We need to be able to handle those different types, different styles of data that are coming towards us.
Yeah, so there's an ecosystem of tools in the market. The vendors are playing a role in building like the data governance tools or AI tools, like working along with different cloud platforms. So do you have, in your experience, some of the tools you have played around with or worked on, like data governance tools or data platform tools?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've currently, work for IBM. So obviously a lot of my focus in terms of what I work with really is focused on the IBM tooling. And it's, so I guess the two key concept areas we've covered today thus far is the data governance. So for IBM, that's its current incarnation is IBM's knowledge catalog. So IBM's knowledge catalog is a fully containerized capability. And we think about all those concepts we spoke about before. So lineage, data quality, onboarding, metadata, both technical and business, going to identify automatically, the classifications of data. So for example, is this credit card data, without having to get stewards involved necessarily. And that's the knowledge catalog. One of the key aspects about the knowledge catalog as well, IBM's knowledge catalog, is that it goes beyond just it's got all those capabilities and more, I will say. So things like, how do we address data challenges and actually rectify those, but also actually tries to bring together an ecosystem of people. So you think about, it's not just for data stewards, it's for people data stewards, it's for data analysts to actually find the data that they're after. It's for data engineers, they're trying to build new pipelines. So that's one of the real capabilities or additional values as part of the IBM's knowledge catalog. What's also interesting though, Saurabh, I'll touch on this because it's closely related, which we talk about data governance. And one of the areas I didn't really touch on is then how do we then share that data? And so to me, it's interesting concept to actually being able to treat the data product which someone wants to use as a product in itself. So think about a life cycle of that. So if I'm going to offer up this data product to you or even to an external entity, how do I manage that? And that's kind of it's adjacent to, but kind of integrates into that whole data governance space as well. And on the other area we spoke on there, Saurabh, is around the AI governance. So from IBM's side, that's the IBM's Watson X dot governance. Watson X is our new, I guess, brand really around the area of AI that we're going to market with at the moment.
Let's now play a very quick rapid fire. Okay. So both you, Saurabh, and Ian, I'm going to ask you questions. And these are not questions really. This is just option A or option B. And you can only choose one. You cannot say both. Like, for example, if I say Sagar or Sagar the Great, your answer should be Sagar the Great. So that's how it should be. Okay. Start. A lone wolf or a team player?
Team player.
Player.
Okay. Technical skills or social skills?
Social skills.
I'm going to say social skills as well, because I think that it's learn technical skills more easily than social skills.
Here's another one. Sales or professional services?
Or sales.
None. Saurabh said none. Data integration or virtualization?
Data integration.
Data integration, yeah.
Data lake or data warehouse?
Data lakehouse.
Data warehouse.
Data lakehouse.
Build a platform or buy a platform?
Buy.
For me, it's built.
And last one, this is the most important. Sydney or Melbourne?
Melbourne.
Sydney, like it's so in
It has to be Sydney, right?
That's a ridiculous question. That's
That's
like
just one.
everybody. We know that in every Melbourneian, there's a Sydney side of trying to get out.
I think it was a great chatting with you, Ian. I think we got to learn a lot from your background and the cool things you are doing at IBM, and also learn about the new cool technologies on IBM Watson X. So yeah, great chatting with you today.
Thank you again for your time.
Likewise.
Hey, Saurabh, I think that was a great session with Ian. I thought that went really well, and we got a lot of information from him related to governance as well as related to artificial intelligence and generative AI.
For the audience, the tips is start small. Don't try to govern all your data at once. Start with high impact data assets and gradually expand. Secondly, gain executive sponsorship. I think data governance need backing from top leadership to be effective. I think foster a data-driven culture. I think encouraging a culture where data is seen as an asset and everyone is responsible for maintaining its quality. And the last, leverage technology. I think investing in data governance tools can automate processes and provide visibility into the data landscape. So these are my 4 tips for implementing an effective data governance program.
That is great. Thanks, Saurabh. For all the audience that are still watching this, please do subscribe to our channel. Like our YouTube videos if you do find them interesting. Put comments on our YouTube channel, and we would definitely come back to you with our next episode. Until next time, from myself and Saurabh, goodbye, take care, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.